Well, here we are. It's Wednesday, September 14th, 2022. My name's Larissa, and I'm going to do a card reading for today. I'm watching all this stuff with abortion, and it just blows my mind. It just blows my mind, like how people can be so codependent and cruel, right? It's to be anti-choice is to be anti-woman, anti-child, and anti-family. And seriously, as a survivor of severe sexual assault, I'd very much like to see. I mean, I'm not inciting violence against somebody, but under the circumstances, they have lived the experiences that I had lived, or had their daughters go through what I've gone through. Would they want that? Would they want that? Or would they want to exist knowing that that's how they came into the world? And on top of all of that, it comes down to religious superstition, right? Religious superstition. Afraid of there being more Muslims than Christians, and Muslims being right over Christians. That's really what it's about. And I'm not a Muslim. And I never will be. Because this is why. Muhammad, I do not believe was a prophet. I believe he was a false prophet. And nobody is ever going to be able to convince me that a religion celebrating a pedophile polygamist as their prophet, right? A pedophile polygamist. I'll never ever be Muslim. You go ahead. You go ahead, have at it. And be Muslim. Celebrate a pedophile polygamist. That's your business. But just nobody's ever going to convince me that that is righteous or just, right? And like I said, I'm not a fan of Bible thumpers either. I was being followed around in Oakland by the Jehovah's Witnesses. They were harassing me incessantly. They were awful. I finally had to call the main hall there, which just happened to be a few blocks away from where we were living, and tell them, I'm telling you to stay away from me. Don't come to my house anymore. Don't follow me around town. So yesterday when I was out, there were these two women who were, who were outside of the grocery store when I came out, offering free Bible study. And they were right behind my car. I'm like, come on, bring it. Bring it, ladies. They didn't have them. They didn't have the nerve. They didn't have the nerve. How dare they? How dare they? All right, so today in the center for the energy, I got two cards flipped up here. We have the upright Roman numeral 8, courage. That brave daisy pushing up out of the rocks, right? And we have a reverse number 3, celebration. No, I do not celebrate. I do not celebrate Muhammad as a prophet. I do not. But there's a lot of people who aren't celebrating and who are being very courageous right now. Think about all of the places in the world where that is the case, right? All of the places. Ukraine, people in Russia who are oppressed by their government and whose children are being killed for reasons that they're not even being explained, like they're being lied to about. People in China and Pakistan who are flooded, right? People here in the United States. So many places. So many places. But people still have courage, right? And forces at play that you may not be aware of. We have a reversed Major Arcana flowering. This is the Death card in this deck, and it's reversed. So there's a rebirth that's happening. I think this card is talking about Queen Elizabeth being reborn into the next stage of her life, right? And forces at play that you're probably aware of. We have a reverse number 4, Miser. Somebody's not being stingy anymore. Somebody's finally letting go of some of their greediness, right? And course of action, again, we have a reversed Major Arcana, receptivity. So not accepting anymore, not accepting it, saying no thank you. No thank you to that. I feel like that the way I see that in my life is I'm not accepting religious oppression or any kind of coercion. I'm not accepting it anymore. I'm not going to receive your coercion. And then on the outcome, we have another reverse Major Arcana, the Source card. This is the God card. And so God's saying no thank you too. No thank you. All right, let's see what the angels have to say. Must be courageous, right? Must be courageous to stand up against that which is against God, right? What do I mean by that? What is against God? I think anything that is inhibiting the life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness of the autonomous individual is against God, right? That's what I think. So, all right, so in the center, on top of the upright courage and the reverse celebration, we have an upright 10 of air. The end of a difficult situation, embrace the change and expect things to get better now. Recovering from an addiction. Well, addictions come in many forms, don't they? And really they all come down to dependence and codependence. People are frequently addicted to control, and issues of addiction are control issues, right? Using a substance or a behavior to control an emotion or a situation, and then you become, it's not really that substance so much unless you're talking about things that are physically dependent, like psychiatric medications and other illicit drugs. There is physical dependence that comes from that, but really, it really comes from control, right? Issues of addiction are always around control. So somebody's letting go of that control, or that need for control. Forces at play that you might not be aware of. On the reversed flowering, we have a reversed Queen of Fire. Confident, warm, intelligent, grateful. Stretch your wings and fly. Don't underestimate yourself. Assert your independence and creativity. Again, like I said, this makes me think of Queen Elizabeth, and she is free. She is moving now into the next stage of her life, and the next stage of the being of her soul, and reuniting with her Philip, and reuniting with Source, with the expanse of the unknown and the unknowable. And forces at play that you're probably aware of on the reverse number 4, the miser. We have a reverse 5 of water. And so here we have a run of reverse numbers, a 4 and a 5. We have them in order here, so that's always something to take note of. Things not turning out the way you hoped, not seeing the positive in a situation, crying over spilled milk. So somebody quit being stingy, and now things are getting a little better, right? And course of action on the reversed receptivity. We have a reverse 10 of water. A contented and rewarding family life. Your emotional and material needs are met. Trustworthy relationships. Well, that's very much the case in a lot of families, right? Not taking it anymore. You can't be in a relationship with someone, even in a family situation, someone who does not acknowledge reality. Like in my own personal life, I was given a misdiagnosis as a teenager and young adult, and then over the process of many years, I had in going to see medical professionals, I was told that no, in fact, this was a misdiagnosis. And for me, that was very, very hard because I had spent so many years accepting something about myself that wasn't true. And I have family members who still refuse to accept that it was a misdiagnosis, because for them, that's like they have to admit they were wrong, right? Because particularly my parents, I was forced to take drugs for many, 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 many years that made me very ill. And part of the process that was very hard for me in learning, being told over and over and over again that the diagnosis was incorrect. Like, I rebelled against it at first. I'm like, what do you mean? What do you mean? What do you mean? And it's like, no, no, no. But I kept hearing it over and over again from medical professionals. So I finally had to accept it. And there is a great deal of grief that I have around the time of my life as a very young person that are lost to having been medicated and kept from opportunity because I was seen as sick. And I wasn't. And I wasn't. And those family members I can't be in relationship with because they're not willing to accept that, right? They're not willing to accept the fact that they were wrong. And that's hard. That's really hard. That's really, really, really hard. And outcome on the reversed source card, we have an upright 9 of air, expecting the worst, self-fulfilling prophecies, sleepless nights. And those things, I can relate to that. I've had many of those. Now, my nights these days aren't sleepless. I don't lay awake upset or worrying or that kind of thing, concerned, anxious. These days, when I can't sleep, it's because I'm physically uncomfortable. And I'm physically uncomfortable as a result, in many cases, or largely, as a result, largely because of side effects from drugs that I was forced to take, that I didn't need. It's hard. It's hard. When I wake up in the middle of the night and my legs aren't working, it's really hard. It's a challenge for me, and I have to work at not being angry. And it's okay. Sometimes people, and I'm just saying this as this isn't a reading for me. I am just relating the reading to my life because I know my life. I don't know your life. But perhaps you can find some wisdom in what it is that I'm saying. Wrong diagnoses, no matter what type of diagnosis it is, a wrong diagnosis wreaks horrendous havoc in a person's life. Because two reasons. You're given something you don't need, or treated in ways that you don't need. And in the ways that you do need, you're neglected, right? Because there was obviously some dis-ease there to begin with. It was just labeled the wrong way or mischaracterized, right? It's like saying, oh my gosh, my leg, it really, really, really hurts. It's like, oh, your leg's broken. No, it's not broken. You have a tumor. Or, oh, you got a tumor, but actually your leg's broken, right? You're not going to give cancer treatment to somebody with a broken leg. That doesn't make sense. It's that kind of thing. It's really bad. All right, so in the center, we have on the upright courage and the reverse celebration, we have the upright 10 of air, we have a reverse number 1, divine temple, Akashic record. So this is information from the physical, right? We're not looking at things that are far away out there, esoteric. We're talking about real concrete things in this world. And on forces at play that you may not be aware of, we have on the reversed flowering, and the reverse Queen of Fire. We have an upright 33, personal power, self-empowerment. And on forces at play that you're probably aware of, on the reverse Miser and the reversed 5 of water, we have an upright 11, grounding, balancer. Look at this nice solid stone. Nice and solid. And on the course of action, on the reversed receptivity and the reverse 10 of water, we have an upright number 2, goddess, divine feminine. Just couldn't help yourself, could you? Just couldn't help yourself. Well, no means no. Sugar pie honey bunch only goes so far, right? Sometimes you need to have a little more to back that up. And the outcome on the reversed source card and the upright 9 of air, we have an upright 29, Atlantis scepter, spiritual awakening. Oh, the light bulb finally goes off. Well, gives room for for transformation and increased self-awareness. I had to mourn the loss of religious community. And what do I mean by that? I mean that throughout my entire life, that was someplace that was something that was constant. There was always religious community that I was part of. And it's not that I don't have belief. I'm not non-theist or atheist or even humanist. I am Christian. But I have just found that being in community is very problematic because I cannot accept the us and them mentality that exists necessarily in all religious institutions, right? Belonging to the institution is we're right, they're wrong. We're better, come be with us, right? And then you have to conform to all of these other ideas that are frequently arbitrary or are ill-informed or politicized. And it's hard to feel without community, right? And it's hard to even talk about, right? Because a lot of people's inclination is, oh, come to my church. My church is different. No, thank you. No, thank you. It's hard. It's very hard. Anyway, to any and all who are struggling with personal belief systems or religious belief systems that are not congruent to personal experience and personal belief, my heart goes out to you today, because I understand that journey. I understand that journey very, very well.